This is the Woke Socialist Podcast. We are woke, we are socialist, and we're not here to tell you what you want to hear. We're here to tell you the truth. Before I get started, please like and subscribe to this video. We would love to have 1,000 subscribers before the world comes to an end, but I'm not holding out hope for that. I want to start this podcast by stating that I feel honestly betrayed right now by Democrats, and for a lot of reasons, especially on the eve of Nancy Pelosi's departure from the House of Representatives. You don't get to do it the way you want to do it. Now, people, the Uncle Toms and the white folks that forgot about us, that want to laud all of her accomplishments as if they happened just yesterday, you should check yourselves, because we're checking you. I remember a time when Nancy Pelosi got on her fucking knee in honor of John Lewis's memory after he died, and had the audacity to turn around and do the exact opposite of his so-called marching orders, as she said in her speech at his funeral. But America has a short memory. People that look like me, we don't. Now let me be clear. During the first Trump administration, we had both houses. Nancy Pelosi had the ability to prevent what is happening to America right now from happening. But she was connected to AIPAC. She was thinking about herself. She failed to uphold her oath to the Constitution because, and I quote, she said, "I did not come here to impeach a president." This same statement went on for months and months and months. And in the process, she didn't consider the consequences of those actions. She didn't watch social media. She didn't understand that a revolution of white supremacy was taking place. And what would fall by the wayside would be everyone who was not white, connected, rich, or could defend themselves. But I digress. In addition to not bringing Donald Trump up on charges when she should have, she failed to call the U.S. Marshals on Republican elected officials who refused to report to Congress under congressional subpoenas. And you could pick and choose whether you were going to abide by United States law and the Constitution. This is why their side no longer respects the rule of law. Democrats set the precedence for that, because all they cared about at that time was political correctness, appeasing the base so you could get the votes, and pulling off the okie doke so that you could keep the slaves happy and the master not whipping them. That's all that was. So under the first Trump administration, Democrats in Congress made millions of dollars off of these alliances and off of these, I will call them stalemates of the process. And I've been told about the process many times. Well, the process is what delayed the freedom of people in bondage in America long after John Brown was assassinated for treason, for protecting the rights of people who were enslaved. Think about that for a moment. Because if you think back to that time, to the time of the Civil Rights Movement, and to now, every single time white elected officials have the ability to stop the systematic slaughter of people of color in the United States, they always revert back to political correctness and high morality. Well, that's about as valid to me as white radical Christianity. All you are is MAGA light and Democratic radicals. Because you would rather put an entire society comprised of your own voters, just like Trump did, in jeopardy. Now, we will die a lot faster than the people who voted for Donald Trump, because they're going to die from lack of health care, lack of food, lack of jobs. We're going to die immediately. We're going to die from ice in the streets. We're going to die from not being able to vote. We're going to die from this guy in this state stating that it's okay to kill blacks. We're going to die from that guy suppressing the vote and people disappearing in the night. That doesn't sound familiar to you? James Chaney, Emmett Till, Medgar Evers. Shall I go on? But yet, people in Congress and Senate who can afford to pay for security has allowed us to be without a Supreme Court because they did not intervene and prosecute. No investigations are underway about their corruptions, but it's way too late for that. Right now, they are executing the agenda of fascism in America. Every single time black people ask you in Congress for your vote, you need to ask yourselves, is it really going to change my life? You watch mainstream media and they talk about how Donald Trump is going to influence the 2026 election. What does that matter? When the entire electorate is being deported, sent to concentration camps, being silenced, or being killed. Is that the illusion Democrats live under? I don't understand that. Unlike white Democrats like Nancy Pelosi and her counterparts that now pass for white, I'm not going to sit here and try and name names. We have seen this movie before. So the okey doke only worked for a certain amount of time. Now we're in a position where we have no law enforcement as people of color in any state that we can rely on. We have very few governors that step up. Even in the state of Maryland, he has failed. He's too busy posting shit about his wife on fucking Bluetooth or Blue Sky or whatever the fuck it is. We have no one in our corner. And you honestly think that we're going to vote for more Democrats and more of the same? If you're running as a Democrat in that party in 2026, you better leave it now. Because there are not going to be enough of us left to vote for you. And the ones who are left are not going to believe you. Because you have failed us at every motherfucking turn. Now let me get back to the most crucial issues that we have here. Concepts of peace have now been adopted by both parties. Native Americans have had their land stolen and been slaughtered. Black people have been enslaved, freed under the benevolence of white people, and then the Reconstruction era was reversed. The Ku Klux Klan was brought into power by a white president named Woodrow Wilson. When he played Birth of a Nation inside the White House that slaves built. But you still wrap yourself in your flag, demand our votes, and we continue to repeat the same thing every so many years. The very definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And in America, people of color need to do something different. Because democracy does not work for us. It was never intended for us. It was always intended for us to be used to further a cause we thought would make us equals, but never have. And since Nancy Pelosi fucked up that first impeachment of Donald Trump, black, brown, and red people are less equal in America than they were during the Reagan administration. That is fact. You can look up the stats. You can look up the economics. Yes, he was the father of the fucked up bullshit that we're dealing with right now. But she facilitated it. And Merrick Garland followed suit. I was educated by people whose parents and grandparents survived. Parents and grandparents survived. Listen to me. Parents and grandparents survived Nazi Germany concentration camps. You cannot piss on my leg and tell me it's raining outside. These people had an inside track to evil, and they tried to pass it on to people like me. And I can tell you stories about Jews that I've met that showed me the numbers on their arms. And you still sit here in Congress and you dictate to someone who looks like me how I should behave. The first thing we are going to do to topple this Trump regime is every American of color is not going to vote. Yeah, I said it. Stop talking about the 2026 election, because it is not going to happen. And we'll get back to that later too. But we're done with this. We're done with you. We're done with your bullshit. We're done with all of that. Every Democrat in Congress and Senate right now is in danger of losing his or her seat, because you have absolutely betrayed the American people. You don't stand up, you are silent, and you do nothing. Now, we got AOC's back. We got Bernie Sanders back. We got... oh. I'm going to give you a list. That's what I need to do. I need to make a list of the people that we're supporting that support what is good for the people of the United States. At the same time, I am not going to ask, but I'm going to demand that motherfuckers that don't look like me and have not lived my life stop talking about this peaceful bullshit. I am responsible physically for elders and children. I spend half of the week staying up all night. I might sleep 2 days a week for 8 hours, because my job is to protect them. Not to protect white protesters out on the street or politicians who want to say after the rest of us, when the rest of us are killed off, oh, we did it peacefully. Fuck that. You put your ass out on the street and do it peacefully. But don't expect us, after, I don't know, 600, 700 years of experience, when we know how this ends with lynchings and concentration camps and assassinations and all that, don't expect us to buy into that bullshit. When you come at me and you hit me, we have a problem. Peace is a white phenomenon meant to control the black, brown, and red mind. Why? Because it's in the Constitution. You can peacefully protest. You can have, freedom of speech. Well, now that those freedoms are being allocated only to people who believe in Donald Trump, why the fuck are people in Congress still dictating the rules to us? The Constitution exists on paper for white America right now, and they feel threatened. But the Constitution never existed in reality to anyone that looks like me. So I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings. I'm sorry if I can't join your movement. But I will be damned if I continue the cycle of graveyards in my backyard of slaves who have no names, bones being dug up, neighborhoods around here by corporate America where they're digging up bones and shit in graveyards from plantations. I'll be goddamned if I'm going to sit here while we forget the memory of Emmett Till, James Chaney, Medgar Evers, Fred Hampton, and others. I'll be goddamned if I see once again the Ku Klux Klan march down Pennsylvania and Washington, D.C., and I sit by and do nothing while they assault Latinos and black people in the street. And if that's okay with you, then you fucking do it. But I'm not. And I'll be goddamn if I allow this Congress, this Senate, political movements, or anybody running for office in 2016 to disgrace the memory of John Brown and John Lewis by ignoring the fact that every single day I walk out of my front door, they ignore the fact that I can be exterminated. Your job as white America is to be peaceful. My job is to survive. And if you don't like that, you can just fuck off right now. This is the Woke Socialist Podcast. And by the way, while I'm on it, you need to check out a guy named Paul for Equality. Because maybe you white folks can get some fucking education. And you need to, even some of you podcasters and you protesters, about peace. We're tired of hurry up and wait. You can afford that. We can't. To all of the people out there that I just pissed off by doing this podcast, in the words of Paul for Equality, have a white day.